Well, hello everyone. Hopefully this is working and you can see and hear me. So I'm just glancing over here at the laptop to make sure it's all good. So pop a thumbs up or something in the chat to just let me know that you can see and hear me all okay. You can see we've got David on already if he's around. So I'll try and stay in the shot most of the time. So everything looks okay. So just wait to see if a few more people join and get some thumbs up and stuff, just to make sure that you can hear me and everything. Let's bring the laptop over here. A bit easier than constantly looking over. Pop something in the chat. Hi, on the rocks 69. I can see a few more people joining now. Cami, yeah, it's been a while. You've been diving much recently? It's not been the best summer for the diving, I have to say. Thanks, Turbo Barrels, just confirming that you can hear me. That's all good. Yeah, first time doing a live stream, so besides working with computers as my normal day job, not too familiar with this side of things. But yeah, just thought I'd do something a bit different to the normal uploads. The fishing has been somewhat quiet this season for the cod. You're in Florida, Cami. Oh, nice. You managing to do much diving out there, or have you put it to rest for a little bit? Yeah, I was just saying it's yeah, I wouldn't say this season on the cod's been the best for me, so haven't managed to get a huge amount of videos out. So yeah, I thought I'd just yeah, give the live a bit of a go, and if anyone's got any questions or anything which maybe I don't cover in the actual videos which you want to ask, then just fire away, pop them in the comments, and I'll do my best to give you the best answer. But yeah, I know that some people have been enjoying the videos. Just you know, there's a lot of people out there which put a lot of videos out and just generally use a lot of the fishing terms as such, and I try to some extent to dial it down a little bit and explain things as best I can for people who are a bit new to the game maybe. But yeah, we've had yeah, it's just been an odd season all round really on the cod. It's started off really well. I was out fishing on the kayak in the summer, and yeah, I was getting fairly decent fish on the soft plastics on the lures, and all fresh run cod as well, so not kelp cod. And I kind of thought that, you know, maybe that might end up being a good start to a good sign for the winter season if the fish were already out there during the summer. I thought hopefully they'd come inshore during the winter, but unfortunately didn't seem to be the way, certainly not for me anyway. I had a few good sessions out towards the beginning of the season, sort of October, November time, and then the odd small fish here and there through January. But apart from that, it's just been a lot of driving around, a lot of trips to Arbroath, and a lot of time coming back home after multiple hours of fishing with nothing to show for it. What's this? When you've stood by the ocean for 4 hours with no hits, which other hobby do you want to take up instead? Well, yeah, good question. I kind of put all my eggs in one basket in the winter and just seem to pour everything into the cod fishing. I know a few people have said to me before, like, why don't I take just another little small rod out with a little scratching rig or something and just see if I can pick up anything off the edge of the harbour walls just for a bit of extra fun. But as I say, I just sort of seem to get too focused on trying to hit that PB or get some, nice big decent cod from the shore. So I just go all out with the big rods and the big tackle and big baits, and yeah, sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, I'm not sure what I would do if it wasn't for the cod fishing in the winter. I think probably most of the time just stay inside, but that's part of the fun of the cod fishing. I think part of the thrill of it is sometimes just being out there feeling like you're beating the elements almost. We go out in all weathers, and it's I don't know, something about sitting out there in -2 degrees, standing still watching the end of a rod in the hope that you might get a decent fish. And I think no matter how many times you blank, for some reason that hope is just always there. Like, I've put so many hours in over the last few weeks, I must have hit 30 odd hours, I should think, without actually getting anything decent to show for it. But you still just want to keep going out there. There's always that chance. Is anyone in here at the moment who fished Alan's comp at the weekend? Alan Saunders organised a great comp up in Arbroath, which I did the first one of his comps in November, and just had one small cod there, and then just got a bit plagued by the coalies. Just the way the season ended up going, I kind of decided against going up for the one a few weeks ago, or last weekend actually, in fact it was. Decided to stay local instead, and went out for 6 hours and didn't catch anything. So just following the tradition of going out and blanking, but it is what it is. At the moment the winter gear is all washed and back in the shed, but we'll see what happens. Maybe mid-Feb, March, might catch the bug and head out for the last couple before the sort of spring starts to arrive. And then once there's always a dead season around April sort of time, and where not really much is happening. The kind of water's not really rough enough for all the cod and fish to come in, but then it's also not good enough for the diving and foraging and stuff. So hopefully going to get out on the kayak a lot this year, and that's sort of another angle I'm going to hopefully try and take with the videos. As I say, I had great fun in the summer on that, just starting to learn some marks and stuff, and getting used to actually using the soft plastics out on the kayak. And it sort of seems like quite a simple thing, just going out on a kayak and chucking a lure over the side, but there's quite a lot more which goes into it. You have to really have your wits about you when you're out there, and you're watching all sorts of states of the tide, the wind, and making sure you're in the right position, and then also trying to fumble around with the rod and everything. But it was, had some really good sessions, as I say. So hopefully get out in the summer a lot, and I'm going to get a few camera mounts for the kayak, and hopefully that will be another angle for a different type of videos, and of course the free diving as well. I'm really keen to get back in the water. We kind of didn't really have the best summer here for the free diving. It was just ironically, seeing as we want easterlies all through the winter, we actually ended up with a lot of easterlies through the summer. So it actually meant that the water was quite stirred up, which meant that it's just not really very good clarity and visibility for the cod, or for the free diving. Sorry. Let's see what other questions are coming in here. Cammy saying shrimping's a new gig. Nice. They look huge. Carl, what reels and bait are you using for the cod? Well, and also the rod. Well, the rod is behind me here. So the main rod I use for the cod in the winter, it's a 14-foot any fish anywhere 6 and bait. So that can cast anywhere up to 7 ounce plus the bait. Brilliant rod. It's got really good bite detection, but it's also nice and stiff as well. So when you're out there in the wind and the rough weather, you're not sort of missing a lot of bites because the wind's blowing the rod tip around. So yeah, so that's the rod. Reel, I'll see if I can show it up to the camera. I don't go huge and fancy with the reels actually. This is where it's all going to fall over. But bash the ceiling. The reel, so that's the reel which I'm using at the moment, which is a Pen Rival, and that's just got on there is 90 pound braid, and I just run braid straight through, so that just goes onto a little quick clip there, which I just can clip my rig on. It's just got a bit of black shrink wrap on there. But yeah, this Pen Rival, that's on, I think it's 3rd season now, and it's absolutely brilliant. Like, I think you can pick them up for under 100 quid, and it's pulled me out of God knows how many snags, and I've never had a trouble with it. The only part in that which I've had to replace was just one of the cogs just inside here on the, I'm just going to focus, but it was actually just in the backside of here. In fact, actually it was on the handle side. It was just inside here, and that was purely just my fault. I just tried to rather than actually pulling the rod up and using the rod to pull the line and then reel on the down as you drop the rod down, I ended up trying to reel as I was pulling it up, and I just put too much pressure through the handle, and it snapped it. But onto Pen Support, and they just posted one out, and a couple of days later it was back up and running. Bait wise, I tend to have a bit of everything really, so I'll use bluey and squid, mackerel, carp as well, and if I can get it, some lug. If I can go down and pump some fresh lug, then I will, but there's not a huge amount around here, so yeah, I just tend to mix it around. I wouldn't say I've got a particular favourite bait, but I'll always start most of the time with a bit of fish on the back of it, and then I'll normally put a bit of crab carp in the middle, and then either another bit of fish or some squid or some worm over the top of that, and just wrap it all together in a big cocktail. And I tend to use fish all the way through. A lot of people only like to use the fish baits when it gets a bit colder, but I wouldn't say I've noticed any huge amount of difference, like using it beforehand or not. Cammy, how long before you get annoyed and buy a boat? Well, we'll have to see how the kayak goes this year. I say a boat's a little bit of a way off, but the kayak certainly was great fun last year. As long as you can get a flat sea. I guess that's the only trouble with the kayak, is you do get a lot more limited to the weather. You've got to make sure that you haven't got a very strong wind, and lots of other bits like tides and everything, as opposed to a boat. You can get out in a lot rougher seas, but then of course the boat comes with a lot more costs. You've got all of the costs of running the boat, but then of course all of your insurances, and if you're going to keep it in a marina, you've got the costs of that as well. Yeah, so far I've got a few friends which have got boats around here, so at the moment I just stick them a few quid and go out fishing with them on their boats for now, and I'll stick to the kayak for the time being. That is. Just on Cole's point there, is obviously said about reels, baits, and the rods, but obviously another part really leading into that, I guess, is the rigs. So I have got a video on the channel for the pulley pennel rig and also the dongle rig, which are the two I tend to use throughout the winter. And most of the time this year, I've been just using the dongle rig. The reason for that being is that I was finding that with the pennel, a lot of the smaller fish would take one of the hooks quite deep down, and you end up gut hooking a really small fish, which you couldn't return, which was quite, I didn't really like the idea of that. So I thought, well, I'll change to the circle hook. The idea of the circle being that it actually pulls into the scissors of the fish, into the corner of the jaw, or even the lip. And I have to say, I don't think in the last season and a half, I don't think I've ever gut hooked a fish on the circle, which is great. Like the return rate is like 100% basically, which is really good, I think, for the conservation of the smaller fish. But that seems to be my favourite at the moment. So I'm running, I run the same as a £90 braid on the reel, and then I just go straight to my rig body, which is £70. And then I run £70 on the hook length as well, and that's both mono on both sides. I'm normally running like a 6 or 7 ounce gripper lead, depending on how rough the sea is. As some people have said, my rig is maybe a little bit too complicated. I would say you could definitely add more terminal tackle onto the rig which I use, but I've got from the hook length, I have a swivel, and then that's onto a Trident tackle Thermalink. And the reason why I quite like doing that is that it just means that the hook length is really detachable. So if you want to either put a shorter or longer hook length on, depending on the tide, you can do, or even if you're finding you've suddenly got into a load of fish, you can just quickly unclip the hook length with the fish on, pop that fish into a rock pool or a bucket or something to let it recover, clip another bait on, cast back out, and then you can obviously deal with that fish and unhook it and get that returned while it's still recovering. So that's been really handy. And I run what's called the Trident tackle roto on the bottom of my rig body on the weight side. The idea of that particular piece of tackle is that it actually has a small lever in it, so you can, if you were using a normal J hook, clip the hook into the bottom of the roto, and then as it hits the water, the lever flips up and releases the hook. So it means you can have a clipped down rig much easier. And a few people have said to me, why are you bothering using the roto when you can't clip the rig down? Obviously with a dongle, you have to slightly adapt that if you want to be able to clip a dongle rig down. But I've mostly just stuck to the roto because it's got a really quick attachment for the lead, and I don't need to clip my rigs down for where we're fishing on our coast. The fish are, when the sea's rough and the conditions are right, the fish are really close in. So I can get pretty good distance fairly easily without having to have a super streamlined bait. So that's the reason for it. But I haven't actually priced up my rigs. I don't know, they probably only cost it's probably only a couple of quid, if that, per rig. I'm sure I could probably get into more fish if I went into some really rough, heavy ground. A lot of the ground we fish I would class as pretty heavy, but certainly not compared to some. I'm just not really up for going out and losing a rig a cast. If I was forced to fish ground like that, then definitely I would trim the rig right down and cut a load of tackle out of it, or terminal tackle out of it, just to keep it a lot more simple and reduce the costs. But I would say if I lose 2 or 3 rigs in a session, then I'm probably going home because by that point, things probably aren't going quite so well. But yeah, certainly I know a lot of other people through the winter, they will like lose a rig almost a cast or every other cast, or certainly run a rotten bottom and lose a lot of weights. I just try to avoid those marks, which maybe is the reason why I'm not getting quite so many fish. But that's just part of it, isn't it? Like, I choose not to lose the tackle and maybe risk a blank. But yeah, I've been fishing lots of new marks this year, just trying to explore a bit. The last couple of seasons I've mostly stuck to the harbours and the more well-known marks, but this year I've tried to explore a few different ones. Unfortunately this time around they haven't all paid off. Not sure whether that's because they're not going to fish at all, maybe they're just not a good mark, or whether it is just because the season is not been quite as good as others. But yeah, it's good to have explored them, keep them in my pocket for next year. Carl, yeah, I cheat and buy the rigs from VMO. Definitely not a bad shout. Like, buying pre-made rigs is nice and easy. You can just buy a big bulk load of them, and it takes a surprisingly long time to tie up a handful of rigs actually. So I definitely don't blame you for just getting pre-made ones. Certainly easier, that's for sure. But we'll get into the free diving again soon, which will be good. Get back out after a few lobsters, get them on the summer barbecue. That'd be nice. Have not too sure on what else the channel has to offer this year. I'm trying to think of lots of new ideas. If you guys have got any ideas of stuff which you'd like to see, definitely just pop them on one of the community posts, or or you can find me on Instagram or TikTok and pop me a message on there. Let me know something which you'd like to see, and if I can make it happen, then I will. But yeah, I'm hoping the kayak fishing can add a good fun element to it this year. And yeah, maybe even try and get out on some slightly lighter tackle, see if we can do a bit of flatty fishing or something maybe. Something which I haven't tried up here. Tried that a lot, but many hours when I was younger and family holidays after the flatties, but never quite managed to get it to work. But up here I think maybe there's a few more around than where I used to fish when I was younger, so might be able to eke a few out. I guess that's the advantage of being able to do the free diving around here as well, is that I actually get to see a lot of the ground like really close up. So believe it or not, a lot of the free diving actually translates over into the winter. I will see marks which I think might fish well in the winter, and I'll actually go and dive them in the summer. So I can actually get a really good idea of what's down there, whether it's like kelp beds or rock, or where all the gullies are and stuff. So yeah, it's good to be able to have that ability to do the research. Just be nice if soon it can pay off. I think our PB on the cod from the shore is probably only £5 or something like that. It's not big at all. In the summer off the kayak I probably had 30 odd fish all around the 4.5 pound mark. Mate caught a huge pollock off the kayak, which was interesting, trying to get that in, 2 of us in a double kayak, a big like 9.5 pound pollock. That was fun. So yeah, hopefully get out after a few of them. That's good to just do a little live, good to try something different. Probably gonna wrap it up fairly shortly because I probably haven't advertised this quite as well as I should have, so we haven't got loads of people on at the moment. So if you've got any other last questions, what's the time? I'll give it till 9:30, so 5 more minutes if you've got any other questions which you want to ask or anything else, then just fire away. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rambling on and on about the same thing. Yeah, Fluky Fisher. Yeah, you're right. The kayak is great fun. I think the good thing about the kayak is you get, well, one, I enjoy it because you get a workout paddling 100 yards offshore to a mark. But also, you know, you just can explore so much more. If one mark's not fishing very well, then, you know, you can just have a quick paddle to somewhere else. But the other thing, what I was doing in the summer a lot with the kayak was actually just drifting. So I'd find an edge of a rock reef and I'd just drift all the way along it. So you could cover a huge amount of ground. So obviously the flip side as to why you have to be careful in the kayak, because you can get blown along pretty quick. But I was just using a drogue just to slow the drift down a bit. Cammy says coastline chefing, please. Well, the only downside to that, Cammy, is I actually have to catch some fish before I can do any chefing. I'd like to think of myself as an okay cook, but yeah, I haven't explored a huge amount of recipes. We would definitely get some more lobsters on the barbecue. Maybe try and do a few more recipes with the lobster in the summer. You can't beat a good bit of fresh lobster. Carl, what do you think about multipliers? Birds' nests is the first thing which comes to mind. I know that a lot of the new ones have got all mags on them now, or magnets. So they are a lot better at preventing that. But I've used multipliers a lot in the past, but I don't think I would ever go for one personally. I would never go for one from the shore for casting. I think I'd always just stick to a fixed spool. I know you can get more distance with a multiplier, but yeah, I just like to keep it nice and simple. Good long cast fixed spool. I think the multipliers are great for me, again, personally, I think the multipliers I would definitely use if I was going off a boat, or even off the kayak if you're just dropping straight down. Yeah, I think I'd be more than happy to use one for that. But I think because my time I can get out on the cod in the winter, the sessions are, generally quite short, like only a couple of hours. I don't have a huge amount of time to get out. I probably don't really want to switch away from the fixed spool to a multiplier because it's just another whole learning curve, isn't it? A 48-hour survival challenge it is then, says Cammy. Well, I can see myself going incredibly hungry. I'll do it in the summer. I feel more comfortable doing a survival challenge in the summer, as I know that I could eat then, when I can actually go into the sea and find the food myself. But trying to get the food to find me does not seem to be working out so far at the moment. So yeah, 48 years survival challenge, maybe that'd be quite good fun. Go and take the dive gear down to the beach in the tent and take the little fire pit and do a little 48 hour, maybe 24 hour to start with. Little cook up on the beach. That's actually something else I'd quite like to do. Would quite like to do a cook up on the beach. That'd be good fun. Yeah. Fluky Fisher Real Wars style. Whatever happened to that program? I'm gonna have to look that one up. I'm not sure I've watched that one. Have a look at that afterwards. Well, we're coming up to past, so any more, get the questions in. If not, it's offline messages to put your ideas across for anything else you might like. If you enjoyed the live side of things, then definitely just let me know. I'm all for exploring doing it again. If maybe next time I need to give it a bit more time for people to get some questions together. But yeah, well, thanks everyone who has joined. It's been good fun. Hopefully I didn't waffle too much, and some of the information which you've heard is useful and you can take away. And yeah, well, as I say, we'll just get back out, and as soon as I can get another video of some decent content, I will. I did film every session. I've been out for about the last 3.5, 4 weeks, but it was all just blanks. And you know, as much as you probably love hearing me talking, you don't want to see me standing out in the cold, in the dark for 4 hours not catching anything. So yeah. Was there fluky fisher just saying there right then? 2 lads sent out with rods, did challenges, and they lived off what they caught. It was a great program. Oh, nice. That does sound good. I'm going to have to see if I can find some replays of that. That sounds good fun. All right. Well, yeah, that's brilliant. I'm going to end it there. So thanks all for joining, and we'll see you again on either another live stream or the next video I can with some decent content. Cheers, Carl. Thanks. I'll see you all soon.